Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. These are my own basic. Hare Krishna. So, thank you everybody for coming to today's MSF, Monthly Saṅkīrtana Festival, inspired by His Grace, Vaiśeṣika Prabhu. So we're all gathered here today to hear from Prabhu, and he will tell us about the importance of book distribution, about how the power of going out together at least once a month. We can get together and go out and share Śrīla Prabhupāda's books, the holy names, and transcendental prasadam, as many people as possible. And in New York City, we have a special opportunity to do that on a large scale. So thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Oh, let's see.
Hare Krishna.
There you go.
Thank you for letting me into the spiritual world. What a beautiful kirtan. And just seeing you all in there, poised for going out to give out Lord Chaitanya's mercy is uplifting. I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who's given us this opportunity, and to all of you, the great souls who are taking up the Sankirtan movement in earnest. Thank you very, very much for your diligence in applying yourself to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nectar of Devotion, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Maybe you just say who's in the room. Each devotee can just say his or her name and mention.
We have Mina, Anupam.
Hare Krishna.
We have Bhakta Jason.
Hare Krishna.
Bhakta William is here.
Jai.
Bhakti and Paula.
Hare Krishna.
How many? Kamini. Bhakti and Kamini.
Hare Krishna.
Manjari.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Gopal and
Hare Krishna.
Ananga Saki is here.
Hare Krishna. What a powerful team you have there. I'm just feeling good for all the people of New York, knowing that you're going to be out there today, that they'll be able to see you and come in contact, because people are really looking for good association. I mean, there's lots of YouTubes and TED Talks and Facebooks, but it's like licking the outside of the jar mostly. Although there's some help that comes through the sound vibration that people get in this material world, it's not enough. It's like one drop in the desert when you need gallons of water to quench your thirst. But when they meet you, although you don't know this probably, but because you're immersed in this kirtan and hearing and chanting, when they meet you, there's a transformation that'll take place in their hearts. And yesterday I read a quote, and I'll read it to you now. It's from a blogger, but he writes sort of enlightened ideas about even how to do business in the material world. And this is what he writes. Up close, face to face, in the specific, it's difficult to dismiss the humanity of others. It's only when we decide to industrialize the process, to do it all at once, to boil it down to numbers, that's when we begin to disconnect. One at a time, because it might feel like a slog to you, but it matters to them. So just know that walking out the door, people seeing you, and Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta told this to his residents in the ashram, that if you go out and knock 3 doors every day at least, then people, even if they don't listen to your message, they will think, oh, I saw a devotee. I remember seeing Hare Krishnas and I couldn't get them out of my mind, even though I didn't know what they were doing. So you're special. I mean, you're special because you're connected to the current. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is empowering all those who have a desire, who appreciate that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are the culmination of all Vedic knowledge, their forms, their activities. And you're dancing before them and singing. And so you have that electricity from the spiritual world to offer. Golokera Prema Dhana Harinama Saṅkīrtana. It's an import. You don't get it here in the material world. You can't get it anywhere. So people are hankering for that. Even one molecule will bring them back to life. So your mission is worthy. You're doing the right thing. It's a good thing to do. And I'm going to read you a couple of quotes from Prabhupada's books. First of all, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 9, for those who are keeping score at home, from the ecstatic chapter entitled The Desire Tree of Devotional Service. Kaviraj Goswami says, Magi va na magi kiha patra va patra. Ihar vichar nahi jane dea matra. Not considering who asked for it and who did not, nor who was fit and who unfit to receive it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed the fruit of devotional service. Prabhupada, this is the sum and substance of Lord Chaitanya's Saṅkīrtana movement. There is no distinction made between those who are fit and those who are not fit to hear or take part in the Saṅkīrtana movement. It should therefore be preached without discrimination. The only purpose of the preachers of the Saṅkīrtana movement must be to go on preaching without restriction. That is the way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this Saṅkīrtana movement to the world. Here's, in the next quote, a little glimpse into what Prabhupada felt about this rough and tumble activity of walking out into the streets or going door to door in any neighborhood in the world without discrimination, just setting up. We don't know who we're going to meet or what's going to happen. And we don't prejudge anybody. As all of you know from your activities, there's a spark within every human body that can be awakened by contact with the devotees. So Prabhupada writes this in the 7th canto, 9th chapter, verse number 44. These are Prahlad's teachings, and Prabhupada's commenting after Prahlad said, I don't want to go to the forest. I don't want to go to the caves. I'm not interested in what the yogis do. I want to live in the big cities and towns like New York City so that I can contact people. This is the power, the most powerful kind of sadhana. So Prabhupada writes, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna conscious movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. Did you like that? And the last one I'm going to read is, as I often say, and I think entering this verse or this excerpt of Śrīla Prabhupāda's writings into evidence quite proves the point that book distribution is high sadhana. Why are we going out together? For our own purification. Why is it high sadhana? Listen to this. Prabhupada from his purport in Bhagavad Gita 1155. The highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of the Lord. Now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those engaged in his service, risking everything for him. Certainly, such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. The point is, walking outside your comfort zone is a risk. Actually, staying in it is a risk. Walking outside of it and taking shelter of the energy of Sankirtan is not so risky. And that's why when devotees get used to that, they prefer to be in the flow of Sankirtan rather than the so-called comfort of their comfort zone. So the point of this purport is that if you do an activity that's so attractive and pleasing to Krishna, then you'll naturally become advanced in devotional service by the descent of grace. So that's why it's a good idea. These excerpts give a glimpse into the mood that Śrīla Prabhupāda himself had and how he started the movement. He went into the rough and tumble world of the public. In fact, he came all the way here without knowing where he was going to stay or what was going to happen. And we don't either know when we walk out the door what's going to happen. We just know that that's where we're going to meet up with the internal energy. And it's a place to take shelter. So the monthly Saṅkīrtana Festival, which you're all engaged in, is an eternal activity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after having kirtan at Srivasangam for a year, then told all his devotees, now go out door to door, street to street, have kirtan, tell people three things: Bolo Krishna, Bhadro Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shika. Follow Krishna, worship Krishna, chant Krishna. That's all you have to tell people. And Lord Nityananda did it. Advaita Acharya did it. Haridas Thakur did it. They went out themselves, and a lot of people slammed the door on them. So if anybody rejects you, you should feel happy. Just meditate. Hey, they rejected Haridas Thakur. They rejected Nityananda Prabhu. They rejected Advaita Acharya. I'm with them. I'm doing the same activity. And same thing with Prabhupada. He went out and he roughed it. He went around in India, took trains, got around any way he could to go to universities, to shops, everywhere to distribute Srimad Bhagavatam. So you're doing the same thing. You're attracting great mercy. And when we do it together as a group like you're doing today, I mean, it's such a beautiful scene. I'm really overwhelmed with emotion just seeing all of you there together in that sanctified place. And in New York City, you're at ground zero, all of you. And to go out together, there's no fear when we're in a group. And we know we're all working all for one and one for all. Don't worry about the results. Modern society emphasizes results way too much. Everyone's thinking, what's the fruit? What's the fruit? Just think of the activity itself. Make every gesture some act of kindness. Think about making friends with people and connecting with them. Don't worry about the result. Kṛṣṇa says in the Bhagavad Gita, one who is a kind friend to all living entities is very, very dear to me. So just be kind. Practice kindness today. Just think, how can I be a kind friend to all living entities? And stay in the mood of generosity. How can I do good for others? And you'll see that Kṛṣṇa does everything else. He'll make all the arrangements. And lastly, Prabhupada started this MSF himself. He wrote letters to us back in the 70s saying, everybody should go out at least once a month. And he told even the big temples. I lived in New York for 3 years, 340 West 55th, between 8th and 9th. You know, that building is still there. Hey, Divyanga. Hare Krishna. And he said, everybody can go out to distribute books at least once a month. One person can stay back and take care of everything else, all the cooking, deity worship, cleaning. So we did it. And I remember, you know, mothers with babies and baby carriages. We had about 300 devotees living in that one temple. And they're all going out the door with Sri Upanishads packed in the side of the preambulator and in bags and things like that. People who didn't normally go out, and they were so happy. And at the time, as a brahmachari, I was thinking, hey, these guys don't know how to distribute books. What are they going to do? But the next day, when we read the scores to Shri Radha Govinda, I saw that it was huge and realized the wisdom of a lot of people each doing a little bit adds up. Collective effort. So you're really lucky. You have a whole city. It's yours. And just follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya and the verses that I read to you and the mood of Śrīla Prabhupāda. And you can meditate on them and pray to them. I also recommend to take a verse with you. It's nice if you can all have the same verse. Sometimes we do that. We used to call it shloka to go. And you print out a verse for everybody. And then in the times when you're in between people or you're walking from one place to the next, you can pull it out and read it. Like, I always keep some verses with me. I got a little packet here. You know, you can just fold them up like this one. I was walking this morning. I'll read you this beautiful verse. It says, a pure devotee of the Lord whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa, for they fully satisfy him as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. I've learned so many verses on Sankirtan. It's the best place. You carry it in your pocket, and when you're on the train, when you're walking from place to place, maybe you're standing there and nobody's coming over right now, just read the verse. Someone will walk up to you and say, hey, what are you learning there? Say, here, I'll give you a whole book full of them. And if you do this regularly, you'll find that it brings in spiritual oxygen to the whole temple. Those are a few thoughts, other than I wish I was there with you. And let's see if you have any questions or reflection. Like, what do I do if this happens? Or
I guess I have a reflection just on the point of leaving people with a good impression.
Yes.
Yesterday when I went out we did a Times Square walking Harinam with Mahavishnu Maharaj and Harinam Ruchi. And there was one couple that I went up to them, and they were just so happy when they saw us. And they were like, I just had a really good interaction with one of your members in Washington Square Park. And I asked him to describe them. He said, oh, he's pretty tall. He was wearing a shirt. He had a free meditation book sign. So Anupam was in the Washington Square Park distributing books. And they were like, yeah, we got books. It was such a nice conversation. It was such a good conversation. They just kept repeating that over and over again. We were so happy we met him. So that impression stayed with them. And so then when they saw the devotees again, they were very happy to see us.
Wow. That's really nice service, Anupam. Really nice service. And I'm glad you brought that point up, because if you make that your goal to leave everyone with a good impression, you'll stay in the right zone. Don't worry about performing. Don't worry about the result. You don't have to do any tricks. You don't have to do any miracles. Just leave everyone with a good impression. And you'll see that you'll be in such a nice zone that everything else will happen automatically. Minna. Hare Krishna.
I was wondering if you could speak about how the kirtan and the book distribution go hand in hand while doing the MSF at the park.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
You know, I was in Mexico a couple of years ago, and we went down to a square near Guanajuato, and there was a kirtan, and we were distributing books in this beautiful square. And while the kirtan was going, actually, I didn't notice how powerful it was until it stopped. As I think they had to pack up or something, had a big speaker system, but we still were going on, we were still on book distribution. And all of a sudden, people they weren't as eager to take books as they were before. And I also noticed it was conspicuous by its absence, the transcendental sound vibration. So Prabhupada said, and I wrote this, I put this excerpt in the book, wherever possible, have the two things together, wherever possible, because it creates a bubble, a transcendental bubble for the distributors. And when the people walk into that vortex, they don't know that they're being swept away by the holy name. Yarabaso pyudyan kavalita bhavadvanto vibhavo drisham tatvandanam apidishiti bhakti pranayanim. Rupa Goswami. He says people, even tattva antanam, they're blind to the truth. They have no idea what Kṛṣṇa is, who Kṛṣṇa is, or what you're doing there. But even they who are blind, when they hear the holy name, they awaken a sense of appreciation for bhakti. And those who don't, there are some who don't, and that's also a marvel that they become they find it abhorrent that you're chanting. And that's also an interesting reaction. It's like, why? There's all kinds of sounds in New York. You're not freaking out about the sirens. But when you hear Hare Krishna, it's like, no, I don't want to hear it. It's revelatory. You'll see that, or it's revealing rather, that when you watch and see the environment, when the holy name's there, you can notice for yourself, just like in the Bhagavatam, you hear many references to how Brahmins used to sacrifice an animal in order to bring it back by mantra. That's why they did it, to see the efficacy of their mantras, test the efficacy. So in the same way, we go out and we test, we chant with ourselves. We go, yeah, we're in bliss. But does it really work for everybody? So then you take it out and you do this kirtan, and then you watch and you see they're coming alive too. Then you know for sure, just like the Brahmins bringing animals back to life, that people, they're kind of like animals. Mayamragam dayichitaman vadavad. That's a Bhajana Muni says in the Bhagavatam, that in the Kali Yuga, people become like animals. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chases after them to try to give them the life of the Harinam. So when you do that too, it's very nice. So the two of them go nicely together. That's why it's a festival atmosphere. There's music. So that's where everyone's going right now. They want food, they want some music, and they want some entertainment. And you give them all three. Perfect combination. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Questions, reflections? Also, you can say anything you heard that could add to the conversation.
Yeah, what one thing did you hear that stuck in your mind that you're going to take with you today? If you write it down on the back of a popsicle stick, put it in your pocket and pull it out at any time. Anupam.
Thank you, Gurmaj. I was appreciating how you're saying that it's actually safer when we're out in the streets, out of our comfort zone, as opposed to being at home, like in our comfort zone. And that after you get that realization and that taste for that, then you just want to be out all the time, and you don't feel so much the urge to stay home and be comfortable.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being home either. I'm not arguing against the home environment. Home really is thinking of Kṛṣṇa. Always remember Kṛṣṇa, never forget Kṛṣṇa. But when you go on Saṅkīrtana, you're forced to think of Kṛṣṇa, because tell me if I'm wrong. When you walk outside the door, you start thinking like, now what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with the environment out here, to distribute these other people? And you have to go, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And you really mean it. You step it up a notch. At home, you can get comfy. Don't get too cozy here in the material world. It won't cozy you back. Sooner or later, it's going to come back and bite you. But if you learn this austerity, vairagya vijja bhakti yoga, this vairagya, this detachment of like, hey, I'm just going to take shelter of the Saṅkīrtana energy of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. If you get used to that, you're in a really safe place. The material world can't get you anymore. Let's hear a couple more. Reflection or question. Yes.
Hare Krishna. I was just going to say that what stuck with me is to not be attached to the results.
Yeah, it's Bhagavad Gita 101. There's this devotee, he wrote a book recently. It's called Bhakti Yoga and the Dark Night of the Soul. I haven't read it yet, but I heard it's really good. And he was describing how he was trying to write a book and he kept thinking like, I got to put out a book. I want the book. And he couldn't write anything. And then he was reading Bhagavad Gita one day and Kṛṣṇa said, just depend upon me, and also don't be attached to the result. And he said, after he actually embraced that instruction, the book, which is a masterpiece, just flowed out of him. It came out naturally. And so if you get in that zone on Saṅkīrtana and every in all other circumstances, you'll actually see for yourself the wisdom of Kṛṣṇa's teaching on that. You're not entitled to the fruit of your activities. Don't be attached to not doing your duty, and don't be attached to the fruit either. Just do it for the sake of doing it, as service. Thank you. What a good point. Thanks for picking that up. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. That actually also stood out to me as well. Like, think less about the results just in my own life. I'm a composer and I'm writing a musical right now, and I keep thinking, I want my musical to end up on Broadway and win like 10 Tony Awards, and it's starting to take the fun out of it. And also I feel like it's almost giving me writer's block. And I feel like if I stop worrying about like the results, the final product, it does flow out of me more. So thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Very practical. Thank you for bringing that up. It reiterates the point, which is, we can't emphasize this enough. That's do service for service and you'll be happy. In his song, Radha Krishna Bol, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the Jiv Kṛṣṇa dāsa e bishwas korle to artuko nai. Just think, I'm a servant of Kṛṣṇa, and you won't have any misery in your life. You'll be happy. In the Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa says, Brahman yadaya karmadi sangam tyakva karotiya lipite nasapapena padma patram ivambasa. Be like the lotus in the water. Grows out of the mud, it's in the water, but it never gets touched by the water. And if you're unattached to the fruit, then you'll work, but you won't be besmirched. by any kind of material consciousness. At the same time, it sounds contradictory. We set goals. You know, in the very beginnings of the MSFs, the main goal is, and it always remains this actually, to go out and touch the pavement. Just get out there, touch the pavement, whatever else you do is extra. But we find that as we gain momentum in the MSF, then the devotees want something to shoot for, because the human mind feels satisfied by going for something. Like someone says, do as many push-ups as you can right now. Don't try it, but just, you'll keep looking up and saying, when do I get to stop? But if I say, well, not me, someone else says, you know, do 10 push-ups. And then, you know, you're like, I can do 10. And if I have to, I'll stop at 7 and do 3 more. So it also, if we're looking to achieve goals on behalf of Kṛṣṇa, then that also keeps us going in the right direction. But at the same time, we remember that birds fly in the sky as high as they're able, but the sky's unlimited. So whatever goal we set, it's only for our own stimulation. And Prabhupada said this, always make it a fresh challenge so the devotees will want to rise up and meet it. And that helps keep us moving. I think we have time for one more reflection or question. Yes. Is that Champakalata? I can't tell with all the masks on.
Yes, yes.
I'm pretty good, right? Even without the mask. My phone can't tell who I am with a mask on. So I'm, all right, go ahead.
So good to see you. I was reflecting on the point that you made about how our goal is to go out and give people a good impression. And for me, it made me think really, what is our intention? What is our mood? And right before your class, I was teaching a Zoom class, and this woman who's 65 years old was saying, you know, why is it that I've been searching my whole life and I've just come to this practice now? And we had a long conversation, but one of the things that I said to her is that we've had millions and millions of lifetimes, and we're so fortunate that we've come to this practice in this lifetime. And I was just meditating on how, you know, we're going out because out of gratitude for what Śrīla Prabhupāda and our Guru and Kṛṣṇa has given us, that we've come to this practice in this lifetime. We can't even conceive how fortunate we are. And we're going out for our own purification first and foremost, to come closer to Kṛṣṇa and please our spiritual masters. And out of gratitude for them and wanting to share this message with others so that they can have the same fortune, not from a place of like, oh, we think we're better than others or something like that, but actually we're just so fortunate, we're just so lucky. We've received mercy, and for our own purification, if we can just be an instrument to connect others to receive that same mercy, then that's the perfection of our lives.
Oh boy, that was amazing. Thank you for articulating that right from your heart. Such powerful realizations. That flow of gratitude for what we've received and then passing it on to others. Also, I love your message of not being condescending. Don't condescend to people. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we're great. They're not, because, you know, we got it. Well, if we consider ourselves, and I'm definitely in this category, a mercy case, just like I'm a mercy case. Somebody came and picked me up, the runt of the litter, and said, here, feed this little runt, and, you know, get him back on his legs, give him one of those little, you know, wheels he can use for his paralyzed back legs, spiritually paralyzed, starving. You know, they pick you up out of the gutter and then they put you, you know, back in order. And then, so, you know, if we consider ourselves a Kṛṣṇa, we don't have anything. We keep our posture because we are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's not that we just let people walk all over us, but in our heart, we hold that humility that I've been given a gift. And now I'm simply passing it on. I'm not the originator of this gift. It's coming from Kṛṣṇa and it's coming through great souls. I'm the runt of the litter. somehow somebody let me into the kirtan party and I'm participating. And such a nice mood you have, Champa Kalata. And I'm so grateful that you have people that you're taking care of like that. Well, I think Gopal Champa Prabhu, as usual, I ran over my time by 4 minutes, but I can't tell you how edified I am by seeing the party there, the team. It's the most beautiful scene, looking at you all in this frame, poised, ready to go out and give Lord Chaitanya's mercy to others. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Always seeing you brings our life air back. So we're hoping and praying to Sri Sri Radha Mulidhar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we will somehow, by Krishna's mercy, have your association again sometime.
Igualmente. And dear Śrīla Prabhupāda, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Sri Radha Mulidhar, Sri Sri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please empower our New York Monthly Saṅkīrtana Festival devotees to give mercy to the people of New York City. May they always be protected and successful in their endeavors. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in part or in whole, please say Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.